we see in Ohio vote in, and I didn't read too deep into the bill, but is it? I believe it's abortion up until the point of birth. Is that correct?
It enshrines abortion into their constitution to, yeah,
Okay, so
they can.
we're sitting here talking about life, the value of life, the meaning of life, and morality. Let's touch base briefly on the topic of abortion, um, and what Ohio just did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, yeah,
from
go ahead.
a yeah from a human perspective, we all know what abortion is. It's the taking of a life. Um, from a lawyer perspective and a law perspective, you know, we are a democratic society, and we vote in people that make laws, and we vote for judges, and our Supreme Court, and that's the law of the land. So as a lawyer, I'm sort of torn sometimes, because when people say, well, what can we do, what can we do, I mean, you got to make sure that you're making right decisions, and you're getting involved, and it's not just as simple as, well, I'll just vote for this person because they have the kind of the same views. I mean, you really got to know what you're voting in. And so, you know I think what Ohio did is disgusting as a person. But that's going to happen if you're going to vote in people that make laws and vote in judges. That's just how our society works. And so the way to change that is you have to vote in the right people, and you have to make the right decisions. And what
That's
that
a
means, whatever you believe is the right thing. That's what you need to do.
and Jeremy makes a great point here. Basically, where I want to kind of take this, because I kind of passionate about this one. Um, so you talked about voting in the right people. So in 2020, Ohio voted Republican, was plus 9%. So they voted Trump by plus nine. In 2022, they were plus nine again, plus eight for Vance, their senator, and then they were almost plus 25 for governor, Republican. Yet on last week, um, the abortion measure passed by a pretty wide margin of 13 points. What that means is there's a lot of people in our own on our own side, in our own churches, in the pew next to us, that do not believe life begins at conception, that life is important, in the womb. And I think that's where, as men of God and men of virtue, it's where we need to start to win these battles. That is in our own churches.
Yeah.
Trying to argue with a leftist online is not. It's a waste of energy, because they're already on that side. It's our own, and I see this in my own church, especially in the Catholic Church. It's a very old school Democrat, type of. There's just, I can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Democrat. It
Well,
doesn't
it's
matter.
it's the Kennedy the Kennedy Democrats are alive and well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that kind of, they'll waffle on the pro-life issue because they want to toe the party line, and they'll just deflect by going, well, we should care about all life. What about the poor? I'm like, well, let's start with the most defenseless first. That should be the priority, and then the 65-year-old dude on the street we can figure out later. You know.
Yeah,
But
you know, and you talk about the people, and feeling the way they do, and voting the way they do. I was a Roe versus Wade guy, because that's sort of what the norm was in my lifetime. And I didn't, it wasn't until I had kids and I realized how awesome they
yeah,
are. And I got older and started thinking really about what is abortion. I mean, I don't know how you can get around saying it's not the taking of a life. I mean, I don't know how that's even possible for someone to even say. So,
Ignorance.
but you have to, and so the lawyer in me says, well, you have to balance that with how life can go sometimes, and so, I always had I mean, it's an impossible decision to make, for our society, because you're never going to get everyone on the same page. But when it's just one of those things where you almost have to allow the states to do what they're going to do. You don't have to like it, whatever side you're on. You don't have to like it, but that's the only way I think our society will ever continue to function, because you're never going to have 100% on either side. It's just one of those things that, no, we're just not going to figure it out. And you guys know a way to figure it out. I please enlighten me, but it's one of the hardest controversial topics that you could ever try to comprehend. And so, I just think, the lawyer in me says one thing, but I know I could never do it. I would never feel right about it. So, but that's just me. That's me as a person. Me
Well,
as
Yeah,
a lawyer,
and
I understand there's laws, and I understand that there's protections, and and that's what people have to try to figure out in society. But yeah, it's an impossible decision. I don't know how you reconcile this one in our
well, it
society.
was a good start with overturning Roe v. Wade because it did bring it back to the states. And where I think we need to take it is the Florida example. We didn't put that on the ballot. Our legislators, our governor passed a 6 week ban, which is a good start. It should be zero, but six, and then you've had places like Kansas, you've had places like Ohio that are you know Republican safety holds, quote unquote, that put it on the ballot, and then half our own party, half of our quote unquote side, you know, doesn't understand this issue. It
I
doesn't
don't
see
know
them
if it's
right,
that they don't. I don't know if it's that they don't understand or that they just didn't get out and vote.
Either
That
way,
that
it's unacceptable.
it's entirely unacceptable. I want to touch on two things briefly.
Yeah,
We talked about moral relativism soon, or we talked about moral relativism a moment ago, and we're looking at a point in history to where an entire political party doesn't have to come out and campaign on the economy anymore. They don't have to come out and campaign on tangible things that actually affect people's lives. They're literally campaigning on these social construct issues such as abortion, such as the alphabet community, such as all of these things. They're they're campaigning on feelings, and their people are so energized almost to a radical point. Like you said, there was a 13-point spread in Ohio, and the only issue was abortion.
yeah,
Like literally abortion. Think about that. How much does that issue actually affect the individual? Not
yeah.
much.
No,
Not
they don't.
much. But if
Because
they
most
can
of the
come
people
up,
voting have never had one, and they have kids. It's like
well,
like
and
the
that's
it's like
another thing too, though, is that they're pushing this through in a morally relativistic way by saying, they always go to the minority, the radical argument. Well, what about the in the case of rape and incest? What about this and that? And if you don't agree with that, you're a monster and this and that. But then you look at it statistically and you go, okay, the cases of rape, incest, and the mother's health, right? 98.7% the last time I looked, and this was a few months ago. 98.7% of abortions are 100% economic.
yeah,
They kill the baby because they can't afford it. Okay, the actual amount of abortions that occurred for rape and incest was below 1%, I believe, or it was just at 1%. It was either below or just at 1%, somewhere around there. And then in the health of the mother, right? It's almost non-existent because medically,
yeah,
that scenario doesn't really occur, right? That's kind of a gotcha type, unless it's a fallopian, uh, or I'm not a I'm not a medical doctor, but unless it's a fallopian issue, uh, the health of the mother is very rarely ever at risk in these scenarios. But yet they look at these, they pull at the heartstrings, they pull at the the feelings, and these people are voting. Just strip it all away. They're voting to kill babies. That's what it is. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
What about your pocketbook? What about gas prices? What about the things that actually matter in your life?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I feel like we're in the twilight zone right now. They've created this voter base that is voting solely based on emotional feelings. We have the abortion issue, we have the climate change issue, we have the racism, we have the community, and it's like, do these things even exist? Are any of these things tangible or objective? The answer is no to all of that.
Yeah.
But yet it's actually amazing. It's actually amazing what they've done. They deserve a gold star for what they've done. It's crazy.
Well, actually, it's a good point you bring that up, that they are effective. They do win
Super
politically.
effective.
Yeah, and we need to be canceling our own side. That this was what I saw a lot on the news after the Ohio thing, and I even seen that with our front running president. It's kind of like, well, this issue is toxic. Obviously we don't want to lose this election, so we should start to waffle on it. And it's like, that should be a cancelable offense.
I agree.
We need to. We don't need to waffle on it. We need to have effective leadership explaining this issue and campaigning on this issue and doing what they do on our own side and galvanizing our base, instead of just playing defense and letting the other side control the narrative.
Well, I heard at one of the GOP debates the other night, it was the Indian fellow. What's his name? I think he's Indian.
Yeah,
Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah, Vivek.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good guy. I don't know, but anyway, he literally he brought up a great point, and he said, Ronna McDaniel, the head of the chair of the RNC, the Republican National Committee, since she's been appointed in 2017, we've lost every election.
Yeah.
Every one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there does have to be a change in leadership, and the people have to wake up, or we're going to lose our country, and we're seeing that. And look, Republican, Democrat, I don't like the labels. I don't like the division between the parties. You have to align somewhere. What you generally, what your morality generally aligns with. You have to. We have to take a stand as individuals right now. If you're a centrist, if you're an independent, you have to look at what you actually believe in. And how do we achieve that? We have to come together. Ignore all the labels. Where's your morality? Where's your heart? Where's your mind on the matter?